Hello. Welcome. My name is Tatiana. I am a business coach and mentor helping women to start their own businesses. I'm so excited you are here. We are continuing on with this January series that I'm doing all about just getting out of our head when it comes to starting things that seem big, especially when it comes to starting a business, which is one of the things I'm so passionate about talking about on this channel. So, very excited to dive into today's topic. I'm getting ready to add in our friends over on Instagram, but just wanted to say hello to the YouTube fam. And how are you? I'm excited that we are in our second week of 2023. It's already feels like it's going kind of fast, but at the same time, I'm enjoying it. I feel like it's going to be a good year. I feel like it's going to be a year full of new things, changes, answered prayers, all of that. So I really hope that for everyone that watches me, like I'm always praying for y'all, thinking for y'all, and just wanting everyone to thrive and succeed. So, hey, Shaquana, how are you? Hello. So let me know where you all are watching from. I'm going to go ahead and get Instagram in here, and then we're going to get started with our topic. Hey, today we are going to be talking all about why haven't you started your business yet? Why haven't you started? I'm really excited to dive into this. And even if you have started before, why you've paused, because that's another big thing. So maybe you hit the ground running, really hard, but then something got in the way and then you just didn't move forward. And so we're going to be talking about that and just really identifying not only why you might have stopped, but how we can overcome it. And a lot of it is our mindset. So I love talking about mindset. I know it's not always everybody's favorite topic, but to me, I feel like if we are not out of our own way, if our mind is not right, how do we expect to show up and do anything in life, right? How are we able to be successful in that? When we are not even able to get out of our own head. So we're going to be talking about some fun things today. Hi, Jocelyn. I saw your message. I'm going to send you a voice message after this. So look out for that. I want to share with you about something because I know you were looking for a planner. So check that out. Hey, Trisha. Hello there. I feel that I needed to hear this topic today. I've been holding myself back out of fear of failure. That is the worst. It really is the worst. But the biggest thing I will say is there will be failure. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. I'm going to go ahead and just say it. There will be some failure. There will be some setbacks, but you're going to be better for it in the end because you're only going to learn more as you continue to move forward in whatever it is that you're pursuing to be like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to do it that way next time. So just as much as there will be failure, there's also going to be a lot of growth and lessons. And eventually you will start to move towards what you're trying to do. So Trisha in Florida, definitely don't let failure stop you. I know that's easier said than done, but I've learned anytime I do something new, I always expect that there's going to be a mess up along the way. And that kind of helps just to set the tone a little bit. Hey, Jersey, Virginia. Let's see. Ms. Liz S said, I know the hard work required to run your own business. Don't want to start and lose momentum. That is fear. Definitely. Shaquana, are the business planners restocked? I shared over on Instagram about this. There was a little bit of, I'll say it was a surprise to me. So I'm waiting to figure out what to do. I guess I can tell you guys, I don't know. I feel like, so basically the coils are not gold. They are silver. And I was really thrown off when I received it. So I'm just trying to wait and see. I don't know because obviously I've been showing you guys gold coils. So if someone wants one, I have them stocked. All the CEO covers is what I was going to restock today. But they're silver coils. So if you're interested, send me a message because I don't have them listed on the website, but I'm happy to help you with it. That's what I was actually going to tell Jocelyn as well, since you guys were asking about it. But there was supposed to be a restock today at 10, but I did share that there's been a little bit of a delay while I kind of figure out some little business back end things, right? Just things that happen. No big deal, but I want to make sure that people are getting what they actually want. So we will see what happens with that. Okay, we got hi from St. Louis, hi from Sedan. Oh my gosh, very cool. Hello, everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this topic. This is one of my favorite ones to talk about because it's something that I deal with personally myself, like even though I've been in business now and doing this whole entrepreneurship thing since about 2013, technically, just different things that I've pursued. there's always been reasons why I either delayed getting started or I would start, kind of build up some momentum and then fall off. There would be reasons why I would just kind of like hold up, and all of that. So I just pretty much wanted to talk to you all just from my personal experiences, things I've experienced with clients, and just give you some encouragement at the end of the day. So, first of all, we are going to be talking about 5 different ways that you could be getting stopped from starting your business. And what's interesting is a lot of these things apply to life too. So, even if it's not a business, if you happen to just be listening, I know a lot of people just follow along sometimes just for the encouragement, even if the business portion doesn't relate. I think a lot of these things will apply just in general. So, we are first going to cover the very first one, which is you. Okay. So, a lot of us are the reason that we are stopping. Maybe everyone around us is like, girl, you got this. You have the money in place. You got the different things and the steps in place. You have the resources you need. Or even in some cases for me, like I work with people, you have the business coach. But if you are not ready, it doesn't really matter at all of how much you have available to you at your fingertips to get started if you do not feel like you can make this thing happen. And that is a huge thing that I've seen from just working with women closely over the last, I guess, shoot, almost 3 years now. Is just that if you're not fully there, it's really hard for you to then show up to create content, to plan things out, to design your products, to just go through anything that you're trying to do if you are not right within yourself as far as knowing that you can make this thing happen. And so I wanted to share really quickly. I created, and I've shared this before, my fear model for goals. Put a little hand in the comments if you know what I'm talking about, my fear model. I'm going to share that briefly with you because this is kind of a way that you can get out of your own way. A lot of times it is tied to fear. Like Trisha was saying, it could be fear of failure, it could be fear of success, it could be the fear of the unknown. A lot of times for me, that's what mine is the fear of the unknown. But whatever it is for you, I wanted to walk you all through my fear model just really quickly. I have a ton of videos on my channel, so if you want to see it more in depth, you can. I even have a little workbook that goes with it. But I want to touch on it here today because I think it's so relevant, because fear is what will stop us every single time. Even before all of the other things we're going to talk about will get in the way. It's really just an internal narrative that we allow to stop us. So, hey, what is it? Grow Black Girl, Grow Coaching. What's up? Hello. Okay, we got some comments before we get into this. Let me see. I don't like to get behind on the comments if y'all haven't noticed. So I'll be trying to make sure I can catch them. Hey, Derica. Hey, Takia. Let's see. We got a 2-hour training you were conducting. Oh, I hope it went well. Okay, so Jocelyn said, I've been following for several years. Honestly, you're the one that keeps me inspired. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you feel encouraged. That is what I'm here to do. So I'm really happy to hear that. So the fear model for goals, it's a 4-parter. Basically, we're just breaking down the word fear into an acronym. So the first part is to find the purpose. What is this thing that you want to do? It could be, like I said, this could really apply to anything in life. But, if it is a business, what is the type of business you're trying to create? Are you providing a service? Are you creating a product? What type of experience are you trying to create for people? What is the overall purpose, basically the what of everything, and just really getting clear on that. So if you are not clear on what you want to do, that can also be an issue. If you're kind of like, oh, well, I kind of think I want to do nails, but then I also think I might want to provide a service where I clean homes, but then I also think I want to sell planners, and then because I really like that stationery stuff. But then, you know what? I think I want to be a coach too. So not that you cannot do all the things. I'm never here to tell anybody they can't do all of the things, but sometimes when you just have a lot of ideas, that alone can be just crazy. So just finding the purpose for one thing that you can focus on in this season. And I think that just could even remove a lot of it. And so find the purpose. The E is to erase the doubt. And the doubt is what creeps up on us. I know for me specifically, I've shared my story with you all many times before, but I had an experience of really having life hit me after college when I realized that I was not going to be pursuing the career path that I thought in music, that I thought I was going to be doing like basically my whole like childhood. So, that was a huge shock to me. And so I felt like, okay, if I couldn't make that happen, that dream, that thing that I was good at, that I in some ways was priming myself for, why do I feel like all of a sudden I'm able to do this new like entrepreneur thing? I don't know nothing about that. And so that was a lot of the doubt I had, the doubts of just you failed in the past. You never really have had like your dream job, or things you specifically wanted to do. Like there was so many negative things that I was telling myself, and it was all just doubts. It was all things that I felt like I didn't measure up to my own expectations. It was never anyone else placing these things on me. It was me. And so for all of these, I am always stuck in this first point, which is you. It's always me that's in my own way. So then to erase the doubt, what we want to do is not only do we want to identify what are those things we're doubting, but then we also want to identify, well, what have I done? Right. So if you are a mom, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Okay. You didn't did the thing. You birthed a human being. Okay. That is huge. If you started a new job at any point in your life, you didn't know those people when you walked in there. You didn't know exactly every single part of the role. And so that was you learning something new and figuring it out. If you have started a new relationship, if you've had a tough conversation with someone, if you've bought a home, I know that was one of the most emotional processes in 2021. That was like our whole like into 2020 going into the middle of 2021, this whole like building a house, buying a house thing. It was a lot. Okay. Basically, all I'm saying is these things that even though they may not be related to what you're trying to do now, it shows you that you can do hard things. You have done hard things. You've overcome the unknown. You've overcome the failure and the setbacks, because everything is not perfect. When you have a new job or when you have a new relationship, you're getting to know those people or that person. And so you're not going to be perfect in every aspect. And so erasing the doubt just means these are the things listed out. If it's on a piece of paper, of why I know I can do it. I graduated from college, even though I didn't get in my dream job, I went to college, that was something I did. I was the first one in my family to do that. And so there are things that we all have that we can be proud of, even if you might feel like it's small on your list, or, that it doesn't mean a ton in this new thing you're trying. But just remember that you've been in this place before, and you will be able to get back to a point of looking back on this new thing you're scared of doing and being like, oh, and I did that too. Okay. So one of the fun things about the E is that you can then take that, if you write it down on a piece of paper, all those doubts that you have, crumble it up, throw it away, cross it out is what I always say. That rhymed. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. But pretty much it's just kind of like a metaphorical way of just saying like these things don't matter at the end of the day. Yes, you don't know it all. Maybe you don't have the amount of money you need. Maybe you don't have the right person in place to help you. Maybe just whatever it is, the doubts, we're going to remove them because they're just doubts, and it's not stopping us. And then the last part is the R. So remember why you started, or just remember why you are starting. So I've talked before, like in some of my foundation videos, about having a two-part why. So the two-part why is just basically, why are you doing it for you? So you, your house, your children, your family, your immediate friends, whatever the you is within your personal life. And then why are you doing it for them? So just meaning your audience, your customers, your clients, whatever lingo you want to use. The why. And the why is important because even if all of the other things fall apart, it doesn't matter. For me, when I go through seasons of difficult challenges within my life, when I am just up against the wall, struggling. I shared in a couple weeks back, I shared kind of like my lessons from 2023. So I got real with y'all on that. If you haven't listened to it, make sure you check it out. But I talked about some of the challenges that I had last year and how I struggled. And at the end of the day, last year was one of my most consistent years with my business, even still. And that is because I have a strong why. So even when I feel like I want to give everything up, or I step away and I take a break, I always have something to come back to. And it's something that I'm passionate about. I'm in alignment with it. I'm always going to come and show up for the women that are here to, hear some encouragement, even though I don't have all of the answers figured out, and I never will. The whole point of this is that I'm here to just be obedient to what God is telling me to do. And so that is my why, to show up, and then my why to show my daughter, to show her that she can do anything that she wants to do as well, even in the midst of all of the things that might be stacked up against her. And to eventually, hopefully, provide her with just some wealth, from me having my own business. And so those are some important things. That was just our fear acronym. So that is how you get out of your own way. The you in this part of it is to just realize that fear is false. I saw this acronym on Pinterest. I have no idea who said it, but I will never forget it. It said fear is false evidence appearing real. So literally those letters, it's not real. And so that is what you have to understand about it. Whatever the fear may be, is just that you can make it happen. Okay. I feel like there's some spam on here, which I've never experienced spam before on YouTube, and I have no idea what to do. I have no idea what to do. Let me see. Block. Okay. There we go. It's like some weird little pop-up thing happening. Okay. So that was just point number one. So we're going to kind of breeze through these next ones, but hopefully that was helpful for anyone that basically is feeling fearful and just feeling like they are in their own way. Derica said, I really need to list things I have to overcome since my 20s because I get in my head. Definitely. It doesn't have to be anything that just happened like last week. Like, it's look at your life and just the different things that you've done. So 100%. And Derica, I know you've had some things, even just with your health, that alone, like health challenges and being able to overcome and be able to still show up. That is something to be proud of, that you are strong enough to do that, because that can set somebody back and they don't do anything. So I want you all to just look at it like on a real note. If you can do these hard things in these different areas of your life, you can do this business. Like, this business should be almost nothing to you. Like, oh, okay, like this is just another thing. I know we gonna make this work. Let's see. Oh, glad you're liking it. Okay, so number 2 is overwhelm. And I put here information overload. So if you have a lot of ideas, and I'm talking to all of y'all, because I know I know a lot of you are like how I am. I have 1,000,001 ideas that I want to do for my business. There's so many things. Some of them are in alignment, some of them are not. But when we have just way too much going on in our ideas, then we take it to the internet and we're like, oh, let me look this up. Let me figure out how to do this. And it becomes this information overload. So first, like I said in the first point, find your purpose, so identify what is the one thing you want to focus on in this season. Doesn't mean it's forever. Doesn't mean you are only going to do this, till the end of time. It's just for right now. What is your one thing? And then instead of taking in so much information where you do become overloaded, which is very easy on YouTube. There's so much free information online. So it's very easy to get overwhelmed, even for myself, because I'm always researching things. Find someone that resonates with you, whoever that might be. Find that person that resonates with you, or the few people. And I would say stick with them, stick with their principles, their ideas, the way that they roll things out. Like, if you're watching, I know I share a lot of times like my launch process, and I know many of you have tried that out before. I'm not saying it has to be me, but whoever it is, because if you start listening to too many different conflicting ideas, nobody's suggestions are always the same. And so you might hear over here, where for me, I'm like, okay, make sure you have an email opt-in, y'all, and do this, that, and the third. And then someone over here is like, no, email lists, they don't make any sense. You need to be focusing on text message marketing. Like, it's going to get very confusing. And so I always just say, allow yourself to try something out for at least 3 to 6 months, to just see if it actually works for you, versus it's like, this week I'm trying this thing, the next week I'm trying something else, and then this week I'm doing this. Because what's going to happen is you're just going to be very confused, and it's going to pause you again. The whole reason that's why people stop, because there's just too much information, and now you don't know who to believe, or what to try out, because now you have like 10 different routes you could take, and that is just not the way that we want to do this. And if you are ever, I'm just going to plant the seed, if you are ever wanting some just like one-on-one encouragement or help, even just to get set on a path of like what to focus on first and everything like that, set up a creative chat with me. I have a 1 hour call where we could just get on and I could just simply hear kind of what you're dealing with and just kind of get you on a roadmap of what to focus on first. Because for sometimes people don't even need like full coaching. They just want someone to help them to just have something laid out to know like, okay, well, what do I even do first? And so definitely do that. You can head over to tatianamuse.com and I'm more than happy to talk with you about that, because that's something I do. And it can definitely be very clarifying if you are just even stuck as far as that, because the last thing we want is for us to get excited. It's the new year, right? We want to start this business. We want to start whatever it is. Maybe you want to start a new workout plan or something like that. And instead of just going with that first thing, you're like, oh, well, let me see what else other people are suggesting. And the next thing you know, you have this notebook full of all these notes and suggestions and ideas, but you're not actually doing anything. So that's really just number two, is overwhelm. And that is some ways to combat that, is to find the one or two or three people you resonate with and try that for a while before you're already changing you completely what you want to do. And I find for me, that has helped me a lot to actually completely see something through. I think I mentioned this on it might have been the podcast. It'd be too many platforms, y'all. I think it was on the podcast. I had said that in the fall, I was working on some of my like more planning systems. If you guys are familiar with me, you know I love ClickUp. And so over the fall, I really got focused on setting up the things for me, not only like what I want to do every day, when I want to make content, but also how I organize my ideas. And there is so much productivity content online, to the point where one day I kind of was going down the rabbit hole and I felt so overwhelmed. And I was like, you know what? I really liked that video of that one dude he was talking about. So I ended up finding, it was like a guy. And then I think there was one other person I watched. I liked their ClickUp templates and I used them too. Even though there were probably a ton of other great videos, I had to just narrow it down. And then I got all of my systems in place and I was able to take action and get started and get organized. And so I just encourage you all to do the same. Okay, so let's see. We got Shaquana said, I just started nursing school on top of starting my business and working, and I'm so overwhelmed, but fear is not real. It's not. And best of luck in nursing school. That is exciting. Congratulations on that. Tatiana, hey, I just watched your video. Said I started working through the Inspire Blueprint course yesterday, and wow, I love the focus on foundation. Yes, so glad you're enjoying the course. Derek has said, you are my person for the info inspiration. Keep it going hard with the research. Well, I'm glad that I can be here to help you with that for sure. Okay, so we just have 3 more points to cover. And hello, California, BFC, what's up? You're welcome. So inconsistency is number 3. Raise your hand, put a heart, put something if you fall into this category of being inconsistent. This is another reason why people stop. I'm gonna just be honest, life is going to keep happening. There's always going to be somebody getting sick. There's always going to be something going on with the finances. There's always going to be something going on in the world, a loss, or just unforeseen circumstances. There's always going to be something, is basically what I'm saying. That is just 100% true. I can say that with full confidence, that there's always going to be something. The thing that we have to realize is that we can't allow for that to just stop us indefinitely. We always want to have a plan to come back and to show up and to plan for those things. And so a lot of times that's what happens with inconsistency. And I think, to me, I feel like perfection and inconsistency can sometimes go hand in hand, because I've learned this just from watching. I love productivity videos here on YouTube. And one of the things I hear a lot across a lot of the different videos is people will say like, oh, well, you don't have to do this entire routine every single day. And then if you miss it on Wednesday, well, now all of a sudden you like are a completely horrible person and you failed, you know? And so that is what I kind of have applied that to everything. It's like, just because you fall off yesterday, it doesn't mean that now the whole week is over for you and now you can't continue. Just because someone didn't purchase the thing today, even though today was launch day, doesn't mean someone can't purchase it next week, you know? So if we can just get out of the perfection mindset, or even just the mindset of feeling like everything's going to happen the way we want it to, this is when consistency can be redefined for how we want it to look. So, wait, hold on, let me see. I don't want the comments are going. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. BFC said, "Is it consistency or inconsistency or self-diagnosed ADHD?" I like your word better. Thanks. Um, yeah. Oh, you're saying that you have self-diagnosed ADHD. I've definitely heard that from different people, and I understand. And we all have different things we deal with, and so I'm not at all trying to gloss over those things. I'm just sharing that I know from my personal experiences and from women I've worked with that this is a big thing that people deal with, is inconsistency. Let me take a quick sip of water. Okay. So the points I want to basically say with this, with life happening, okay, no matter what it is, if it is a launch, if it is anything you're trying to do, I know for me, a great example is my YouTube channel. It's my main platform. So I like to be consistent on here, even if I'm showing up at least once a week. But the biggest thing I would say is when you are inconsistent, it's hard to get good at something if you keep stopping. So if you are already kind of like, I'm a little iffy about getting on social media, I don't really like showing my face, but I'll do it today. Then you fall off. Maybe you don't get any comments on it, or maybe, you didn't get enough the views you were expecting, or whatever it is. And then you just don't post again for like 3 weeks because that happened. How are you ever going to get better at it, get more confident, and actually want to continue to show up if you keep stopping? Another thing, inconsistency is people are not going to care. If you don't even want to show up for yourself consistently, and whatever like I said, defining consistency is going to be whatever you make it. So one person may say, me showing up every single day, that's consistency. Someone else may be like, you know what, I got 3 kids over here, me getting online 2 to 3 times a week, that's consistency for me. Whatever it is for you. And then realizing that if you don't show up, people don't know who you are. So you have to be consistent, if nothing else, just so people can constantly, to remind people, keep yourself top of mind with your business and the different things. It can't just be like, oh, I'm consistent for 3 days and then like you don't hear from me for 3 months. Like that we can't do that. Okay. We can't do that. And that is what a lot of people will do though. And there's different reasons why you might stop, but you can't do that. Another one I have is to identify your distractions and excuses. So this is still under consistency. So if you are finding that you easily get distracted by scrolling on social media, that's a big one I'm sure many people can relate to. Maybe you watch a little bit too many shows on Netflix. Maybe you are on the phone with somebody a little bit longer than you need to be. Whatever your distraction is, you enter it in here. I think it's just important to identify those distractions and excuses and remove those. So if your excuse is always like, oh, well, like my kids always got a whole bunch going on, and I don't have any time. I literally grew my channel here. I think the year that my channel really, I would say, I guess you would say, like took off was kind of like the middle of 2019 and then going into 2020, that year. And I was home with my daughter every day, my newborn daughter. Well, she was a little over 1 at that point, if we're talking about 2019, but even still, she was under 1 for most of 2019. And I did it, like I worked in between naps, or if she was awake, I did it while she was awake. I made sure she was good. And I made it work. I still had to like show up. I had to cook dinner, make sure the house was clean. There's a lot of different things I had to do, but I could have used that excuse and just been like, you know what, this is doing too much. But I was like, well, at least my consistency level right now is I want to just do 1 video a week. And I stuck to that. And so the biggest thing I could say is just define what it is for you. Remove those excuses. The excuse of, oh, I have this going on, so I can't make it happen. Oh, I'm too busy. We all have time. This is coming from somebody who literally, and I'm not even trying to be braggy, but I'm just giving an example of someone who said that I don't have time to read. And in the month of December, I read like, I think 5 books in December, like physically read. And that's because I removed those distractions and the excuses. And I'm like, no, this is just something I want to do. And it's been so fun to just read. So there's always time, y'all. We always have time. And I know that it can feel defeating when things are not happening as quickly as you want, because that could be another reason for inconsistency. But more often than not, just because you post for a week straight on a platform, you can't expect that all of a sudden this thing is going to take off after just a week of work. Like, there are years and years that people put in on these platforms to get growth. Yes, we got the overnight people, but we're talking about the ones like, like you and me, where we have to just show up and there's just a slow and steady growth. And that has been my testimony from the beginning. I have not had any overnight success in anything I've done. Everything has really just been with me showing up every day, putting in a little bit of work, and trying not to get defeated, because I do. I see those people that go viral. I see those businesses that take off and do all of those things, but that's just not my journey. And so just don't use that as a sign to stop just because you're seeing what other people have going on. And we'll touch a little bit more on that in a minute. And then the last thing about consistency I want to mention, this was a little bit of a longer point, is to make some time on the calendar for yourself to focus on whatever this said thing is that you're doing. So, if it's content that you're struggling with, taking some time. For me, Mondays, while my daughter is away at daycare, that is the time where I sit down and I decide, or I write out what I'm going to be sending out for the week, captions, I plan out video outlines and things like that. Setting aside that time on your calendar, not just saying like, oh, this week I'm gonna film a video, but actually putting that time on your calendar. Be like, okay, during this block, my kids are going to be watching TV while I film this video, or whatever the case is. Like, that is when you will start to see the consistency happen, when you are actively making the time for it on your calendar. So that is kind of the inconsistency part, but a lot of people get stuck on it, and those are some ways that you can combat it. um Hopefully that was helpful. Tatiana said, I've been able to be more consistent now that I'm using your content strategy, planning my content quarterly, monthly, also reusing old content like we talked about. Yes, yes. Repurpose. Okay. Repurpose, especially if you are a person that has a lot of long form content. Chop that bad boy up and post that on some reels or some shorts, okay, and turn it into some shorter videos. Like, repurpose is huge. So I'm glad that that's helpful. I'm really glad that's helpful for you. And then Derica said, so me for January, my priority is I am my number one priority, because since my boys flew or left the nest, I've been lost and put myself last. Oh, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, when my daughter leaves, what am I going to do? I do think about that. But I love that you are putting yourself first, but it shouldn't just be for January. It should be every month. It should be every day, even if it's just in a little something that you can do to be like, I'm thinking about myself in this moment. I think it's very important, for sure. All right, so two more points. Number 4 is that you are scared to sell, and quite frankly, you're scared to talk about your business. I know it can be like, oh, I don't want to be sleazy. I don't want it to seem like, oh, I'm just trying to sell my stuff, or I'm not being authentic. At the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with y'all, and maybe it comes across, maybe it doesn't, but I am really uncomfortable with talking about selling. As far as like when I'm like, oh, buy this from me. This is how much something is. I have this service available. I am very uncomfortable with it. I've gotten better over the years, but it's not my favorite thing to do. And I always like try to throw it in real quick. Oh, by the way. But what I have learned is that when you are your true self and you share your story, and you, as I like to say, provide value. I know, I'm sure you guys have heard that so many times, but when you do those things, it's a lot easier for you to then add in, oh, buy this, when you've been providing so many other things along the way. Like, you're not spamming people constantly saying like, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. I mean, now there's a time for that. Like, for example, Black Friday, I felt like I was getting on people's nerves. I sent out multiple emails that week, even the week before. I was posting almost every day on my Instagram page. But I mean, there's a time and a place for it. And, people will understand that. But in just regular seasons, I'm always making sure that I am just being myself. Even if it's not the prettiest thing, even if I don't have anything super amazing to share, like, I'm always going to be myself first. And that has allowed me to feel more comfortable to be like, you know what? I'm not here being fake, like, what I have is what I have. Like, I'm not here to sell anything that people are not going to get. I put my heart and soul into this stuff. Yes, I'm not perfect. Yes, I make mistakes, but at the end of the day, I am confident in this product and what I have created and put my heart into. So of course I'm going to talk about it. And so that's really just what I wanted to share about this is if you are scared to talk about your business, if you're scared to sell, a lot of clients I've talked with, it's been like they're just scared to even like share it with like their personal Facebook page, which I kind of get it. It can be kind of not cringy, but like, it's people from your past and school and family. And sometimes they can be kind of judgy and it's just weird. So I get it, but those are some of your first customers and people that will share and promote you and support. So just whatever you might be kind of feeling around that, I just wanted to touch on that because it's a big thing that can stop people. You're posted regularly, but then when it's time to actually talk about the product, you're kind of like, ooh, I don't know. So if anyone has any questions, by the way, I wanted to make sure I'll be able to answer maybe one or two at the end. So drop them in, by the way. So glad you're here, Jacqueline. Thank you. Thank you. You can definitely make it happen if you're struggling with it. For your first video. Ooh, maybe I can share something about that at the end for first video. And then El Nicole, what's up, said, yes, I'm always afraid of selling stuff, even when people ask me to sell my stuff. Watching other girl business vlogs have helped me to feel more hopeful and confident. Yes, and it's a muscle you have to work. Like it's not like all of a sudden you just wake up one day and like, oh yeah, I'm confident. Like let's go sell this. Like it takes practice. It takes even with the video thing. Like when you do your first video, it probably will feel awkward talking to yourself on the camera. Or when you do your first live, it's gonna feel strange and probably a little scary. I used to sweat profusely when I would do live. I mean, honestly, I'm still sweating a little bit right now, but you get comfortable over time. And so it's a muscle, you keep showing up, you keep doing it, and eventually it will click to a point where you still might not love that part of the business. You might not love the part of selling and talking about it, but it gets to a place where you've done it so many times that it's just like anything else. It's like saying your name, but now you're talking about your product. And that is what you want to get to. But the only way that happens is with consistency. So I'm glad that the different vlogs you watch have helped because yeah, that's a big thing. When you see other people doing it a lot of times, that can also be helpful for you. So that is the fourth point. And then our last point is other people. Okay. So other people, y'all. So many aspects. I wanted to say this for the end. So this is anyone that is stopping you besides yourself. Okay. So this could be your significant other, your friend, family, people online, like really anyone could be this category. And I guess for me, this is also, if I had to pick two, like I was saying, the number one, the you is always for me one of my issues why I stopped doing things. But this would probably be a close second for me because I am really bad when it comes to comparison with people online. And I've learned a lot to just kind of protect my mental space a little bit, especially like when I'm in the middle of a launch and different things. Like I've learned how I operate even different times of the month. I have to kind of like monitor what I do because just certain times I'm not as receptive to things. Or I'll take it and it'll be like, oh, well, I'm not good enough to do that. And so I'm just keeping it real with y'all. Like that's for me, but I've learned that in my entrepreneurship and it's not perfect, but when I feel myself going into that space, I have to protect myself. And so this is going to apply to any of those people. So first of all, we never want to live for other people, okay? And we don't want them to stop us from being great. So if you are pausing on doing something because of someone else, I'm gonna give y'all a quick story, and I know my husband's probably gonna be rolling his eyes if he if he heard this, but him and his friends wanted to start a podcast last January, so January of 2022. Okay, and they wanted to start. Everybody was on board. They had meetings, talking all about it. Everybody like, yes, let's do it. They came up with the name. He started designing the logo because he's a graphic designer as well. They got started. So I think they recorded like their first couple of episodes. Everybody was on board, and then all of a sudden life started to happen. Okay. So now people not showing up. They saying they coming, they not showing because it was 4 of them. And next thing you know, months and months go by and they hadn't done it. So this idea, which started out as his own idea, by the way. He wanted to do this himself, and then he reached out to them to see if they'd be interested. And they were like, oh, yeah. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with partnerships. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But meanwhile, this is going on. Now, y'all know your girl launched her podcast last year. Okay. So I basically said, I was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. In the time of them saying they was going to start a podcast, the whole year of 2022 goes by. And now, literally, they just had a meeting, y'all. I want to say it was this week. Was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or the day before. They all met and they're getting ready to record again. This is a whole year later, and he stopped because of other people. Meanwhile, I done launched my podcast. Season 1 is over. Okay. So all I'm saying is don't live your life for other people. If you feel like people are holding you back, maybe that person is just not meant for you in this season for what you're trying to do. Like, I always feel so bad, like when people pause on things because of someone else. You are more than capable of doing things on your own. So don't ever let someone else stop you. And it could be, life happening. It could just be maybe they have a negative mindset, whatever it is, like live for yourself, because we only have this one life. And I would hate for someone to waste the possibilities of what something could be because of what someone else couldn't do. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Also, keep in mind, too, that a lot of times when people might be kind of, like being negative about what you're doing, like maybe you tell someone like, oh, I'm starting this business, I'm doing this thing. And then someone kind of gives you like not the best response that you're looking for. Keep in mind sometimes that they might just be really admiring you, but they might feel within themselves that they can't do it. And so instead of them being encouraging to you and kind of telling you the things you really want to hear, it comes off in a more of a negative light. And so if there are any people like that in your life, I would say not necessarily to cut the person off. That's not always the easiest way, but realizing that sometimes you have to decide who are the people that you share certain aspects of your dreams with, because that can stop you. For a long time, I used to tell my family, and now I don't hold it against them because they don't know about what I'm doing, but I would tell them like, oh, you know what? Like, oh my gosh, I had 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like, I'm so excited. In the business, entrepreneur, social media, people world, that's like people are like, oh, that's a huge deal. I know to some people, they might be like, oh, that's nothing. But I was excited. Okay. Like, I was like, no, this is huge for me. But then, when I tell like a friend or something, it's not that they're not happy for me, but they just don't get the amount of work that goes into it. So then they might be like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, so just protect yourself with the people you tell things to, whether it's an idea, an accomplishment. Just realize that not everybody is going to understand the place that you're in, and that is okay. And that's why I always suggest finding accountability partners, getting in programs, getting around people. I have a whole podcast episode all about if you have like a lack of support and how to get accountability. So make sure you check out that podcast episode. But that's why I suggest that, because then you have that point person that gets you, and it's not a surprise to them, when you're dealing with these struggles or you have a new idea, like they're able to support you in the way you need to be supported. Some things you can do, of course, as well is just to, hold on, I'm skipping ahead of myself. Let me read comments really quick though. Sometimes it's best to make moves in silence. Unfortunately, say it again, Anita, and I'm glad to see you're on here. And yes, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work to grow these things, but not everybody gets that. And for a long time, I would feel like, oh, I got to prove to my family that I'm doing something. But they just don't get it. Like they don't get, like, I can't expect my grandmother to understand what I'm doing. Like, she comes and she'll show up on some of these videos and she'll see what I'm doing, but I can't think like in my head, which is what I thought. I'm like, oh, well, she must not be proud of me because she didn't give me the response I was looking for. But it's like, no, she don't know what she's doing. Like, she doesn't understand it. She didn't grow up with Instagram and YouTube. And even if she did, that's not something that she's interested in. Let's see. L. Nicole said, inadequate advice from someone who doesn't have a business. Exactly. Okay. So yeah, just other people, y'all already know. I don't even really need to tell y'all because we all have experienced it in some way. But just realizing that other people don't have to stop you. You don't have to live for anyone else. You don't have to compare yourself to anyone else. And that was the last part of this that I was going to say is comparison. Hey, Precious. Um, Comparison, y'all, is like I shared at the beginning of this point. It is probably my biggest enemy when it comes to my business. And what I have done with this is I have muted people. I've unfollowed people that just quite frankly made me feel like crap. Okay. And it was not anything that they were doing intentionally. In fact, they're thriving, they're doing amazing, and I'm inspired by them, but it was almost to a fault. And even if you watch me and you feel like that about me, unsubscribe, unfollow, mute me. I'm saying that super genuine to you, because there are certain times where we just can't see someone else without feeling less than. I've talked to this with my accountability partner, and that's why I love her so much, because we always just get each other. And this is just something that all entrepreneurs deal with at some point, whether they voice it or not. It's just like, okay, well, why do I not have that same success as that person? Why did this not happen for me? Why is it taking me so much longer to do this? And it's just a constant thing. And so the more that you get into your entrepreneurship journey, which you have to start it, so go back to the beginning of this, watch those points. The more that you do it, the more that you're consistent, you will start to see those ebbs and those flows, and kind of like, in a way, it's a roller coaster where you feel like, okay, I can kind of take in what other people are saying right now. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. But oh, okay, let me go ahead and mute some folks. Like Precious said, mute and love. Let me not go ahead and talk to my mom, for example. Even my mom, I tell her everything. But, like just as an example, let me not tell my mom about this right now because my mind is not really right now. Okay, you know what? Oh, maybe I'll kind of share with my friend that I'm doing this thing. You will notice that there will be a time and a place to share, and just a time to where you keep things to yourself, or where you only share it with the people that are kind of like your protected people, that have your best interest in mind, that get what you're doing, and that you're not going to tell them something and they're going to completely shut you down or make you feel a certain way. And it's same with social media. I'm quick to take a social media break if I need to. I will mute somebody, and it's really just for my own mental state, so that it doesn't sway me from my purpose. God placed me here for a reason. God is telling me to do this thing. And so if I'm getting distracted by someone else's journey, someone else's assignment, if I'm getting distracted by that, that is completely taking me out of what I should be doing. It stops me from being obedient, because now all I'm doing is just watching this person and thinking about all the things that I don't have. So other people, y'all, I feel like it was a big one, and I wanted to do that one at the end, because at the end of the day, this is your life, and you cannot allow the lives of others, whether it's 100% real, because we don't know what people are really dealing with behind the scenes. We can't allow that to be a reason to stop us from starting our business. And it's one that like I said, I deal with it on a regular basis. So I know for all of us, it's different. I've shared before. I don't even know what I'd be sharing stuff on, like I said before, but I had said it, that there's a certain time of the month, for most women. I'm trying to keep it PG on here, but for us women, there's a time of the month. And at that time of the month, for me, you would think my whole world was over. Okay. It happens every month, and it always sneaks up on me as a surprise. All of a sudden, I'm like questioning everything I'm doing, and I'm wondering, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Like maybe I should give up, and I'm a horrible mom, I'm a horrible wife, like all these things. And so I really have tried, I've been putting in my calendar, y'all. Like I have tried to be like, girl, you are in your like kind of, pre-menstruation situation or whatever. And this is just what happens. And it's different for everybody, but I have noticed my hormone levels, they get a little crazy right at that time. And so when that happens, I really kind of like scale back off of social media. I don't do a lot of scrolling. I do a lot more posting and just sharing what I'm doing, but I don't take so much in. And that has really helped me a lot. And then same with when I'm launching, like I mentioned, when I'm in a launch, I don't really look at a lot of what other people are doing, because it's really easy for me to see someone else over here. If I'm trying to sell these planners and only 5 people purchase this planner, and let's say my goal is 50, and then I look over here, I'm scrolling on TikTok, and this girl that sold out of 10,000 sweatshirts. And this is a real example, or not 10,000, I think it was like 1,000 sweatshirts or something. And I'm like, well, what am I doing? So you figure out what those seasons are, for protecting yourself, because it's very easy to get caught up in it. I deal with it all the time. And so that is why I'm able to speak on it, because this is something that I'm trying to just learn in different seasons. It's very, very important. And I see AO Homer, you actually going to say something about the cycle thing. Yes, there's this girl that I follow. Her name is Barryon Berry, and she has this really interesting thing. Check her out on Instagram. It's somewhere on her page. She's talked about, she has a podcast, but you can actually sync your cycle with your launch or with your business. And so, like, there's 2 weeks out of the month where women are more like outgoing, and not that you're like an outgoing person, because I'm an introvert, but like you feel more outgoing, you're more energetic. And then there's really more so 2 weeks where you're more inward. And so that can be honestly something that you can do, is kind of plan things around how you're feeling, just how you show up online. And you'll start to understand, like, oh, well, this is why I'm not feeling that motivated this week. It's not because my business should be thrown in the trash, but it's because, like, I'm dealing with my hormones. So it's a real thing. And I was really interested in just how crazy it is when we don't realize it, because something we deal with every month. So you don't really think about how much it can affect you. But y'all, I mean, it really does. Her name is let me try to put it in the, can y'all see my comments on here? I don't even know. I think that's how you spell it. I'll put it in the description of this video too, but it's Barryon Berry, and she talks all about like how your cycle can sync with just your life and how you show up. And it's really interesting. So that wasn't even a point that I had on here at all, but it is actually something that could stop you. You could feel like, oh, maybe I'm just like unmotivated and I'm not meant to do this, but it could just simply be, your hormones might just be that interesting week. I think Apollonia called it Shark Week. Is that what you called it? Got to disconnect and reconnect with yourself. Shark Week sucks. It does though. Never fails to rethink your entire life. Yeah, every month, and it sneaks up on me, and I'm always like, why am I feeling like this? And it be that way every time. My husband even be knowing. He'd be like, well, and I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, just like motherhood, there's different seasons in entrepreneurship too. Most definitely. I found that 2 weeks post cycle for me. Exactly. And so I don't always get a chance to sync with my cycle, but I do that for certain things. Like when I know I have certain like webinars or trainings or things that I know I'm in control of the date, I try to I do actually intentionally look at the calendar to see if I can schedule it during a time when I know I'm going to be a bit more excited and energetic versus like, okay, I'm literally dealing with cramps right now. I don't want to be on here. So it is something to consider. Um, yeah, girl, kids know moms on Shark Week. Give her some space. I've never heard anybody call it Shark Week. Okay, let me see. I got like 5 minutes. So let me try to get through some of these comments. If anyone has a question, now is the time to ask. Okay, I don't have supportive friends or family and have stopped talking to close people for things they have said. It sucks and it brings me down. I definitely understand, Derek. I don't know if you listened to that episode. I think you might enjoy it. The one about lack of support on my podcast. I'll try to link the stuff I mentioned in this description a little bit later today. But the biggest thing I would say for that is just try to seek some people outside of those immediate people, because even in the beginning when I started, my friends and family were not my people. Like, as much as I wanted them to be and share about stuff, they just weren't really showing up for me in the way that I needed. They weren't saying the things I needed to hear. And so I really just tried to meet other business owners. I had my subscription box. And so I used to like feature business owners. I met a lot of people through that way and would kind of keep in contact with them. But that's where you kind of have to get a little bit uncomfortable. If you're like how I'm a very shy person. So it takes a lot for me to reach out to someone and send them a message or say like, hey, I'd love to connect with you. But I've never regretted doing it. So that could just be something to try. Thank you, Takia. Yes, hit the thumbs up button if you are on YouTube. Let's see. Yes, the hormones are real. Trisha said, I can relate to that. I just have to remind myself it's okay to pause and rest, but it's not okay to give up. Exactly. And as Apollonia called it, Shark Week will have you thinking you just should just give up and that everything is over. Seriously. Start tracking your cycle and you can prepare for it. I have less meetings and do. Yes. Okay. So yeah, the cycle syncing thing. I need to do it a lot more than I have done the cycle syncing, but it's it's really something everybody should check out. I do suggest it because we don't realize it, but there really is some specific times of the month where we just are not feeling it, you know? Like obviously you know that your cycle is coming up, but you just show up differently. Like when you do the research, you listen to a couple podcasts about it, scroll the girl's Instagram that I mentioned and stuff. I'm trying not to say girl as much. The woman's Instagram that I mentioned and stuff, and then you will see what I'm talking about. But it is really helpful. And I see Hammer. Is it Hammer? Yeah, AO Hammer, the artist, is already hip to it. But it's really interesting, y'all. Like, and I mean for every aspect of life. You definitely can sync things to it to make it happen. So, any questions before we hop off of here? Could you please shed light on how I can start a stationary business as a stay at home mom when people always think I have so much time, but I don't? And also, people think it is not profitable. Definitely. I think this will be the question to close us out. Um, yes, that's a great question. So, I too am a stay at home mom. Hello, what's up? Hey, I don't know how many kids you have, but I have one, my daughter, and when she was born, I already had an active business. So this will be a little bit different, but I'm going to kind of apply those tips of what I did in the early days to kind of help you. Let's say I've had an idea for about 10 years now. Stuff like that makes I think all I'm gonna just say to close out because I pushed this live a little late, so I have to go get my daughter here in a couple of minutes. But if you are a stay-at-home mom, I'm specifically speaking to stay-at-home moms. First of all, what you do is amazing because I know that alone, a lot of times people can like look at stay-at-home moms a certain way, and just feel like, oh, well, you're just a stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home moms do a lot of stuff. Whether you have one child, you got 20 kids, you do a lot. And it is not just sitting around, it's not just watching TV. Like these kids are a lot. Mentally, it's draining. Physically, of course, it's draining, but the mental and emotional thing, I think, is probably what is more or so. So I just wanted to acknowledge that first for you. That I totally understand when people say that you have a lot of time. I get that. I think the biggest thing I would say, I don't know the ages of your children, but if they're younger or whatever it may be, I know for my daughter, I have always utilized nap times. Even to this day, she doesn't always take naps as much now as a 4-year-old, but we do quiet time. So during those times, whenever it may be, if you have like a significant other that's there to support as well, getting a little bit more what am I trying to say? Communication going with them and just kind of sharing, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I need this block of time. I need this day. Those things are really what will help you in that because it's all about the support, but it's all about utilizing the pockets of time that you do have. So for me, whenever I knew that I wanted to work on my business, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to be on social media. So I had to cut out distractions and focus on what I needed to do. Filming videos is really hard with a small child because they make noise and different things, but I had to just accept it's not going to be perfect. And so she might have been in the background cooing and making noise. There was a lot of vlogs where she just was in it with me. And I made her a part of it as much as I could. I know a lot of people found me from the how to make a planner video I did, and she was in the background of it while I was doing it. And I was like, you know what? And that's one of the things people absolutely loved about that video was that she was in the background. So as much as for me, I was beating myself up about it, just look at it in a way of like, there's never going to be a perfect time. Your kids are going to be there, they're a part of it. And so just really fitting them in and allowing them to see what you're doing, I think is what's kind of cool because you are home with them. So just taking some time to come up with the communication plan, if you, like I said, I don't know if you have someone at home with you or not, but that can kind of help you for a couple hours. My husband will watch my daughter. We do usually every other Friday. He'll watch her for the first half of the day, and I go do my own thing. I have some uninterrupted time to work. That's really what I would say. And I know I'm not specifically speaking to just stationary because I think that really it's the time that you need to find and the communication is what needs to happen first. And then from there, all of the other things will fall into place. You can come up with how you want to do it, but if you don't have a ton of time, I think start with drop shipping, look into that. start with just different things that you can create where you don't have to physically make anything yourself. Then you don't have to worry about learning any new equipment. You don't have to do too much in order to make it happen. You can set up a Shopify store connected to, for example, Printify. We'll just use that as an example. They have some different little like notebooks. I mean, it may not be the style you want, for example, but it's somewhere to get started, and you can always improve as you go. That's, I guess, the last thing I'll say is that just because you start right now and it's not exactly how you want it to look, or it's not exactly what you were thinking, doesn't mean that you can't get there one day. But if you're trying to be profitable is just really to just get started as soon as possible. And then the sooner you get started, the more you're showing up and talking about it as much as you can. If your kids are in the background, whatever, that is really where you will see that the profitability will come. I mean, it'll take time and consistency for sure, but I think it's just important to realize, the stage that you're at in life, and just showing up wherever you can. I think, to me, that's more so the part to take away from this than like the stationary aspect. But stationary businesses can 100% be profitable. It's just a matter of how you roll it out, how you do it. I mentioned kind of in the middle of this video, I do have creative chats. It's a 1 hour call where we can sit down and I can kind of help you with a roadmap. So if you're interested in that, reach out. It's on tatianamuse.com. And I'm more than happy to talk with you just to even come up with a plan of like how to even just get started, what to focus on first. Those are all the things that I am an expert in and am able to help with, and would love to help you or anyone that might happen to see this. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you all enjoyed talking about what is stopping you from starting your business. If you came in a little bit late, this replay will be available, so make sure you check it out. But as a quick just way to wrap it up, at the end of the day, whatever of these points might have resonated with you the most, I just want to reiterate that you are in control. You can make this thing happen as much or as little as you want to, but it's just very important for you to realize that don't allow these things to continue to stop you. Go through, listen to what I said, actually do the activity, the fear model, write the things down, identify what it is that has overwhelmed you and why you're being inconsistent and why you're scared to talk about your business, like all of these things, so that when it does come up, even if it hasn't come up yet, you already have kind of worked through it and combated it in some way. So it's not a surprise, and you can continue to be showing up for yourself. I have so many videos about showing up and being consistent on this channel. So just make sure you check out my channel as well. I have intentionally made a lot of videos just around motivating you all and sharing practical things you can do right now. So many women have started their stationary businesses just from watching my videos alone. So I know that it is possible for everyone. Last thing I'm going to read and then I'm going to go. Anita said, showing real life is very relatable and nice to see on screen from time to time. Definitely. Definitely. And it doesn't make you unprofessional or anything like that. It just makes you real. And it gives people just one more reason to be like, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to support that person. So I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I will be back next Tuesday with another one of these topics, as we are just starting to slowly uncover how we can just remove this overwhelm of starting our businesses. So I'll see you all next Tuesday. You are all welcome. Bye.